National media continues to be wrong about JJ McCarthy, and it boils down to one element that they just don't understand. The Minnesota Vikings are entering the 2025 season with a brand new starting quarterback in JJ McCarthy. They selected him 10th overall in the 2024 NFL draft, the highest draft pick ever for a Minnesota Vikings quarterback, beating Dante Culpepper, who was taken 11th in 1999, 25 years earlier. Now, it's been a really tough road for McCarthy. He tore his meniscus in his first preseason game against Las Vegas Raiders, where he objectively looked fantastic, and the sky felt like the limit. But of course, as it does with almost everything Minnesota Vikings, came crashing down. Now that he's entering the offseason and training camp as the bona fide starting quarterback with seemingly no competition, unless you count Sam Howell as that, which nobody does, there's a really interesting narrative surrounding McCarthy. And it continues to be perpetrated by people who are smart and they don't understand, or they're at least not talking about this one concept. McCarthy isn't your standard first-year starter or rookie. He has an entire year in an NFL building, in an NFL system. And that entire year makes a big difference. Here's the quote from Graziano talking about JJ McCarthy. Quote, "Yeah, he looks the way they would expect him to look at this point in his developmental process, and that's the key thing to understand. The process that Adam Schefter says there's nobody under more pressure, but they don't want him to focus on the pressure he's under. They want him to focus on the process. Is he ready to start right now? Probably not. Can he be ready the first weekend of September? The Vikings believe that he can. He's been working on detail stuff, fundamental stuff. Remember, he lost last year due to injury, so that's a year of development he didn't get working on altering the trajectory of some of his throws. So that's been a lot of what the offseason has been like. A lot of learning, a lot of putting the lessons into practice. For JJ McCarthy, Kevin O'Connell would have told you this time last year that Sam Darnold wasn't ready yet to be their starter, but he believed he could get him there by the first weekend in September, and he did, obviously. So they believe the same thing about JJ McCarthy. They believe in their process and they think he'll be ready. Overall, there's really not a whole lot that's wrong with it, but there is one element here that just does not really resonate, or at least needs to be clarified more, and Graziano does not do it. Remember, he lost last year due to injury. Yes, he did not get to practice on the field. He did not get to do a lot of those reps, and some of that mechanical stuff is very fair. McCarthy needed mechanical work, and it seems like he's done that. The over-rotation with his back leg, the swinging leg, the drive leg, that has been a huge, huge factor in some of those missed throws that he talks about. And when you look at him during minicamp, that has calmed down. He doesn't have that bowler swing anymore. It's just a slight swing. And that slight swing is going to help him stay under control and throw more accurately with consistency. But here's the one thing that they don't seem to understand, or they don't want to. JJ McCarthy has been tremendous, and he's gotten a tremendous advantage because he got to spend an entire year in a quarterback room with Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, Brett Rippon, 3 veteran quarterbacks, including Darnold, who failed as a top 5 pick, which is even more pressure than a top 10 pick. And it was in the New York media market. Not to mention, you have Wes Phillips, who's a good offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, and Josh McCown, both of whom played football in the National Football League. They played quarterback in the NFL. Now, obviously, McCown did it for a significantly longer period of time, but that matters. Having the ability to go ask questions, which you've heard many defenders talk about, including Harrison Phillips. Hey, why did you do this? Why does this matter? Why did you change to this when you saw this? And learned a lot of that kind of stuff and absorbed and is ready to take on that role. That doesn't get talked about. Why? Because it doesn't drive numbers. It's not sexy, but it's the reality. He's had so many opportunities to really grow and thrive. Well, why aren't you talking about it? Why aren't we having those conversations? Because the off-field is just as important as on the field when it comes to developing a quarterback. Yeah, you need to be able to throw a really nice ball, but if you can't go from A to B to C in those progressions and throw it accurately with touch or zip, whatever the situation calls for, doesn't matter. You have to be able to know what to do, when to do it, and how to get there quickly. And that's where the book work comes into play. He's got the book work down. Having spent all that time in the meeting rooms, having spent all that time in the film room, it's going to help him tremendously. And we need to talk about that more. I'm Tyler Forness with A to Z Sports. Skol Vikings.